What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate. Today, for May the 22nd of 2019, my name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. Of course, if you are brand new to the program, this is a daily gaming news podcast where I bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry, and I'll let you guys know what is going on in the industry we all love. And today, we have more news on Call of Duty Mobile because it apparently has a Battle Royale mode, and we now have more details as to what that will entail. Plot twist, it's very similar to Blackout. Who would have ever thought? Of course, there are a couple of changes there. On top of that, we will talk more about the game overall. I just kind of did a bit of research, a little bit of a, 5-minute Google kind of stuff. So I wanted to let you guys know exactly what this game was going to entail as it continues a gradual launch around the world. First in beta, then in a full format. On top of that, we have a report that says AMD is going to be announcing some brand new cards this coming Monday, and they look to be some pretty good pieces of tech. Metro Exodus has recouped all of the cost of development, but on top of that, THQ Nordic and Deep Silver and Caffeinate have a lot of games in development, but we will talk more about revenue, stuff like that from THQ Nordic, which is one of the most interesting companies in the entire industry, without a doubt. On top of that, speaking of THQ Nordic, they have acquired yet another studio. Now, there is a dedicated Steam chat mobile app, just in case Discord wasn't cutting it for you. You can now chat via Steam on Android and iOS. Nintendo has pulled 2 mobile games from Belgium due to the new loot box laws and the fears around those. God of War sales have exceeded 10 million copies since it launched last year, which of course launched on 4/20/2018, and then there's a brand new grid coming, as well as a Fortnite Jordan's crossover, and finally I have a free game story for you if you want to get another freebie on PC this week, of which there are plenty. Why, I don't know, but I'm not really complaining, and that is pretty much the lineup for today's show. Now again, if you happen to be brand new here, this show is hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, right here live on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams. Then it's taken down and put up on podcast services around the world, in addition to youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's top stories, which start off with Call of Duty Mobile Battle Royale mode. And it has a class-based take on Blackout, which I think could actually benefit the game and simplify things a bit. Call of Duty Mobile's other major mode is going to be Battle Royale. In a blog post, Activision revealed the first details about the Call of Duty Mobile Battle Royale mode. The mode pulls from different Battle Royale games, including Black Ops 4's Blackout. The map is largely the same and matches support 100 players as you would expect, but the mobile version's take on BR is just a bit different. The first major change is that it allows players to pick a class at the start. 6 of these will be available to choose from, and each comes with a unique ability and 1 unique gadget. Interestingly, reviving works a little bit differently here. It doesn't look like teammates can be knocked out before they are completely eliminated. The revive process requires you to pick up their dog tags and go through the revive animation for them to be able to spawn back in the plane. As you would expect, players will be able to pick skins for different weapons, equipment, and even vehicles and parachutes. Other returning Blackout features include the different team setups, from solo all the way to 4-player squads. Call of Duty Mobile's iteration even features separate first and third person queues. You can click the link at the top for more to go to the full blog post, which of course is linked via the report down below, but you can pre-register at the link as well if you would like to get in just a bit early, or at least, solidify your spot. Now, before we talk more about that, I did want to talk more about the game itself, because a lot has been revealed via this blog post. Primarily the fact right here that you do have the other modes that are going to be available via launch itself. You have free-for-all, frontline, team deathmatch, hardpoint, and domination. But on top of that, another little tidbit that I did note from the actual blog post is that the Battle Royale map itself is going to include various elements from previous Call of Duty games, not just dedicated to one specific sub-franchise, as I like to call them. So if you played Blackout, you'll know that the map is pretty much consisting of a lot of various locations from previous Black Ops games. Call of Duty Mobile incorporates stuff from Black Ops, from Modern Warfare, from a lot of these different areas and time periods, so that creates a completely and totally different dynamic in my mind. Very interesting to say the least. Including the various locations, the games are Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, and Black Ops 2 as well. And so that's pretty much what you can expect from the map. But of course, the game is still very early on in development. It's getting to the point where it's ready for a beta test. Of course, the beta is rolling out. I believe next it's coming to Australia, and then it will continue to roll out to locations around the world throughout the course of 2019. But of course, you can dive into the full blog post, do a deep dive on it if you would like. But what you need to know is that Call of Duty Mobile is actually shaping up to be a genuinely good Call of Duty mobile experience. And I didn't really expect that. Of course, we've seen Call of Duty get into the mobile space before, but it hasn't exactly panned out because you have seen some strategic games, stuff like that, etc., etc. You just have never had a genuine Call of Duty game on the go. Now, the first thing that many people are going to point out is this is likely going to be absolutely riddled with microtransactions. And you, sir/madam, are correct because that's exactly what's going to happen. With that being said, as long as it's all cosmetic, I don't really mind because that's just the nature of mobile games 9 times out of 10. Now, some studios do pump out mobile games that are genuine games, and that's all well and good, but at the same time, whenever you have a game that can include a ton of cosmetics, whenever you have a game that can include a ton of skins, that just kind of makes sense. And so, to go ahead and incorporate that in is kind of a no-brainer, but nonetheless, if you did want a good Call of Duty game on the go, then you can jump into Call of Duty Mobile, and I would recommend pre-registering via the link which is included via the report, which I have linked down below in the YouTube video. But I digress. Very exciting to see Call of Duty finally genuinely branching out into mobile. And also to Gaster in the chat, welcome on in. But let's move on to talk about these AMD cards because there is an AMD Navi announcement coming Monday. Performance targets have been revealed. Vega replacements challenge the RTX 2060 and the RTX 2070. AMD's next-gen Navi graphics cards have been subject to intense rumor and speculation for years, but the end is in sight. A PR director and product manager from Sapphire, an AMD partner known for their Nitro graphics cards, leaked the Chinese press that the Team Red is planning to announce 2 Navi GPUs on Monday. This date coincides with AMD's Computex keynote, which is scheduled to begin on May 27th at 10 a.m. Taipei Standard Time. The Sapphire representatives revealed that both cards will be upper mid-range products that sit below the Radeon 7 in AMD's product stack. The Navi Pro will outperform the RTX 2060 for $400, while the Navi XT will beat out the RTX 2070 for $500. Barring any reactionary price drops from NVIDIA, that should mean that AMD regains the price for performance crown for 1080p and 1440p gaming once the cards are launched on July the 7th. The leak was first posted online by Zhihu, a Chinese social media platform, and then quickly spread to community sites such as the AMD subreddit and Western press, including Tech Power Up, and since then the original Zhihu post has been deleted. You can get the idea of performance we expect from the new GPUs in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider 1440p benchmark that they have embedded below on Eurogamer, which of course you can check out if you would like, but essentially what you need to know is that they are pretty much some pretty good looking cards, and I do want to point out that AMD has been making up a lot of lost ground over the course of the past few years. Of course, whenever I first got into PC builds and kind of began to understand what PC gaming really entailed, AMD wasn't really something that I had ever considered because NVIDIA was just so much better overall. The performance was unmatched. And now, as AMD has begun to do a little bit of research and development, as tech has begun to grow and evolve, AMD is truly becoming a viable option. In fact, I've just built a gaming PC. It's my second PC that I've built. Technically third, but the second big PC that I've built. And so looking forward 3, 4, 5 years down the line, whenever it does come time to build another PC and put one to rest, I will likely end up going with an AMD build. I mean, truly, by that time, they will be on par with NVIDIA. Now, of course, NVIDIA probably has a couple of tricks up their sleeve. There is a lot that they have going on that we don't know about. And, of course, NVIDIA is never a company that you write off. They have a lot of good ideas, a lot of good people on that team. But nonetheless, if you did want to get in on the AMD card line, it looks like the Navi announcements are coming on Monday, and of course, I will let you guys know what those do entail on Tuesday's episode of Caffeinate, if I did do that math correctly. And by math, I mean dates. But very exciting to see AMD starting to make a true comeback and be a genuine competition when it comes to NVIDIA versus AMD. It looks pretty good because, again, traditionally it's been Sega Genesis versus the NES, that kind of thing. it's not the same, it's not the same. But moving on, we have some talk about THQ Nordic, because this company has blown my mind yet again. They have made such a comeback over the course of the past 5 years that I never would have predicted we would have the THQ Nordic that we have today. But nonetheless, very exciting. Metro Exodus has recouped all of its cost and boosted the Q1 revenue at THQ Nordic. Now, this story begins as something that is about Metro Exodus, but we will dive into what it's actually about here in just a moment. Metro Exodus boosted THQ Nordic's revenue in the first quarter, with the publisher confirming that 4A Game Shooter has recouped all production and marketing cost. In the 3-month period ending on March the 31st of 2019, the THQ Nordic Group earned about 151 million euro in revenue, up 158% over the same quarter last year. Operational EBIT for the period was about 37 million euro, a 217% year-on-year increase. For those that don't know what that means, it means they made some dang money, dude. They made some money. The two key releases of the quarter were, of course, Metro Exodus and Satisfactory. Both games were exclusive to the Epic Games Store on PC, and the former sold 2.5 times more than Metro Last Light did in its PC launch window, while the latter was Coffee Stain's biggest PC launch to date. So, THQ Nordic said that Satisfactory's launch performance exceeded management's expectations at the time of our acquisition of Coffee Stain. The Swedish developer earned about 9.1 million euro in revenue in that quarter. But the single biggest component of THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, and, of course, the single biggest component of THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, earned about 74 million euro in revenue, and of course that is still just more and more money. We could go on, but we will talk more about what all of this means whenever I do bring up the fact that right here in the last paragraph, according to the THQ Nordic Group, there were a total of 80 games in development across THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, and Coffee Stain, with 48 of them still unannounced. Now, that's why I included this entire story. Of course, we all know THQ Nordic is making money because when you throw tons of games out into the world, people are going to buy them. Even if 5 people buy one game and millions of people buy another one, you still threw out 2 games and they're making more money. You see what I'm saying here? There are 80 games in development, people. There are 80 games in development. So with 48 of them still unannounced, that leaves a ton of games that are going to be coming down the pipe, probably on PC, probably on consoles, etc. Very exciting times to see what's going on behind the scenes at THQ Nordic. But, of course, they have purchased another studio, Piranha Bytes, with the hopes of making Elex 2. THQ Nordic has acquired Gothic creator Piranha Bytes, and with it the IP rights to Gothic, Risen, and Elex. That is a pretty big deal for those that like the niche games in a way. The two companies have worked together before, THQ Nordic having been the publisher of Elex, which came out in 2017, and was a bit ropey but charming nonetheless. On the prospect of Elex 2, the acquisition press release said, semi-official comment, have a guess. So, there you have it. It's pretty much what's happening here. As for a new Gothic, presumably Gothic 5, nothing to say at this stage. Remember, Gothic 4 has nothing to do with Piranha Bytes. By then, Piranha Bytes had split with publisher Joe Wood, and Joe Wood had the Spellbound team make Gothic 4. Joe Wood since went bust, and Piranha Bytes reacquired the IP. The acquisition will result in no charge for Piranha Bytes. The studio will stay where it is in Essen, Germany, and all staff will retain their jobs. Piranha Bytes will develop RPGs and have full creative freedom in doing so, and THQ Nordic will publish. There are situations in life where you think to yourself, this feels right, commented Bjorn? Wow, what a name that one is. Bjorn Pankratz. Wow, that's an exciting one. Project director and game designer from Piranha Bytes. Well, this is exactly one of them. We have been working on some great and exciting things over the past couple of years, and we are extremely stoked about what the future brings with the right partner and the right network of companies. After all, we want to continue to create great, memorable, and impactful games with as much creative freedom as possible, and with THQ Nordic, we know we are now part of a family which supports us by all means in our efforts. It's a good feeling to have, and so the point of this all of these stories combined together is that truly THQ Nordic is a company that does this well. And when I say this, I mean going in and finding these niche games that have followings, that have maybe, gone astray over the course of the past few years, and they pick those IPs up, they pick up these companies and say, hey, do it. Just take your creativity, take your imaginations, and just do it. I love it, I appreciate it, and I really respect it. And of course, that's what's making THQ Nordic money. They make these games that big companies would never actually bite, and then they take those and create these experiences that I like to call AA experiences. Of course, not AAA, not indie, they're kind of in the middle. Darksiders is kind of one that comes to mind whenever I think about that style of game, and they have created a space for themselves in this industry by doing that. That is something that it blows my mind. It is phenomenally done, well executed, good job THQ Nordic, and best of luck in the future because, of course, these small games that people might have forgotten about over the course of the past few years, there are still people out there that would love to see them come back to light. So we will see how that goes as the studios begin to develop these games, and again, 48 unannounced, 80 in development, a lot of games coming down the pipe. But while you're playing these games, some of them might be multiplayer games, or you might just like to chat with friends while you're playing games. Guess what? If you don't like Discord, for some reason, then you have a Steam Chat app that is now out for Android and iOS. If you wanted to be completely and totally inconvenienced by chatting with your friends, expect the Steam mobile app to focus on security. Last year, Valve released Steam Chat for the desktop, and now its messaging service is fully mobile with a dedicated app for Android and iOS. Naturally, it cribs the desktop version's features, including a friends list. Ooh. See who is in-game or online at a glance. Never miss an opportunity to play. Rich Chat. Your chats get even better with higher fidelity links, videos, tweets, GIFs, Giphy, Steam, emoticons, and more. Invite links. Add new friends on Steam with a link. Generate an invite link you can text or email. Customizable notifications. Mobile notifications mean you will never miss a message or game invite. And group chats get everyone on the same page. Groups make it easier to do things like stay in touch with your communities and organize game night with your best friends. You'll have to try it out to see if it's enough to pull people away from other options like Discord. I'll give you a bit of a hint. It's not. But at least now there is proper competition, and voice chat should be the next feature added. Pause. They don't even have voice chat? Are you kidding me? According to Valve, now that Steam Chat has its own app and Steam Link is available on both mobile platforms, the main Steam mobile app will see upgrades that focus on security. Expect to see a better Steam Guard soon with one-touch login, QR codes, and the like. And so, I wanted to bring this story up mainly because it's something that's worth talking about. I don't know why it exists. I just don't know why we need a Steam Chat app in 2019 whenever Discord has pretty much risen to the top as the way to communicate with people online while playing games. It just blows my mind that we still have this conversation. But with that being said, if people don't try new ideas and if companies don't try to get their hat out there into the ring, then we would never have had Discord to begin with, and we would all still be using TeamSpeak or even Skype, which is what I used back in the day. So to consider that, I suppose I understand why companies are trying this new approach, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder why, because Discord just does things so well. But nonetheless, if you did want to download the Steam Chat app, it's out right now on Android and iOS, and of course, a very exciting time for those that do like to communicate with friends, because there are many ways to do that that take you out of that horrible in-game chat interface that we all know and hate. I truly do hate in-game chat. But Nintendo has pulled 2 mobile games from Belgium due to loot box laws. Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp depart on August the 27th. Notably, August 27th, also the same day WoW Classic comes out. Could people at Nintendo just be wanting to dodge a bit of work? I'm just kidding. No, this is probably bad for them. Nintendo is pulling 2 of its popular mobile games in Belgium due to the nation's anti-gambling laws aimed at loot boxes. Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp will be removed from app stores on August the 27th, according to an announcement on the company's website. Upon that date, neither game will be available to download or play. Players who have orbs or leaf tickets can still use them in the game until its removal. Due to law. That's law. Nintendo also will not release any future games with similar earnings modes or models in Belgium. Fears that the mix of gambling and gaming is fueling addiction has led lawmakers in the US and Europe calling for the ban of in-game loot boxes, but so far only Belgium and the Netherlands have been successful. Belgium passed a law late last year that banned video game loot boxes, which allow players to play cash to unlock rewards. The nation's gambling commission ordered several popular games that came with in-game revenue models, including Overwatch, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and FIFA 18, to remove their loot boxes in Belgium. If publishers did not comply with the law, they could face a fine of €800,000 and up to 5 years in prison. All of the publishers going to jail. no, I'm just kidding. That probably would never happen, but still, nonetheless. Most game developers like Blizzard, Valve, and 2K have satisfied requirements by releasing a version sans loot boxes. Others are pulling the games from Belgium entirely. Last year, Square Enix pulled 3 mobile games from Belgium: Kingdom Hearts Union X, Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and Mobius Final Fantasy, if you were curious as to what other games have been impacted. Now, Gaster in the chat says, can you haggle in Animal Crossing? I don't know. I don't play Animal Crossing, but at the same time, these mobile games had these elements within them. Now they have to be removed from Belgium entirely because of Nintendo's fears about being sued or maybe throwing somebody in jail, apparently, and costing 800,000 euro and whatever that equivalent is over there. But essentially, I think it's a good move in a way. Loot boxes, depending on how they are executed, aren't the worst thing in the gaming industry. And I say this with a bit of hesitation because they aren't good either. It's kind of like whenever you go to Taco Bell and you're like, oh my God, these nachos are phenomenal. We know what's coming later. We know it's not good for us in any kind of way, shape, or form. You're going to have a bad night and then you're going to gain 10 pounds over the course of the next 3 months, but it's delicious. It's fine. For now. And so that's pretty much the way that I view loot boxes. You know, you can throw 10 bucks at it or whatever. Is it good? No. Is it satisfying? Yes. That's called gambling. No, it's not healthy. And so to protect people from this, it seems like would be a pretty good move at the end of the day. So for Nintendo, a good move nonetheless. I feel like to avoid this kind of difficulty entirely is probably a pretty wise decision. But aside from Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, I don't know how much money these games were making. Of course, if they are free to play and they have loot boxes, you have nothing to lose. You literally offer the game and bring in revenue after it's been developed and a couple of updates here and there. But I suppose we will see if people do miss this on August the 27th, and maybe we could even see them re-release it at some kind of point in the future. But of course, they are only being taken away in Belgium, still completely and totally available in other places of the world. But moving on to the next topic of the day, God of War sales have exceeded 10 million copies. It is selling very, very well. I've got a copy sitting next to me. If you have not played God of War, it is absolutely phenomenal. In a way, similar to Shadow of the Colossus because of the puzzling, because of the boss battles, etc. But nonetheless, much more exciting, much more action-packed. A phenomenal game this one is. Sony has provided a new sales update for God of War PS4, and it is huge. The title has now sold more than 10 million copies, according to a slide from Sony's recent Investor Day briefing. Of course, that's where we got yesterday's headline, which was the comparison between the PS4 Pro and the next generation of PlayStation hardware, the episode of which is up right now on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia. The 10 million sales was shown to demonstrate the strength of Sony's own franchises across platforms. As you can see, God of War franchise sales have grown across the entries on PS2, PS3, and PS4. The same is true for the Uncharted and The Last of Us franchises, and of course there is the graph as you can see right here. On PS3, the Uncharted 3 sold relatively well, below 10 million copies though. PlayStation 4 sold drastically more. On top of that, God of War, very impressive, with PS2's original, it looks like God of War, it might be God of War 2, the box art is very fuzzy there, but selling less than, it looks like even 5 million. PS3's God of War 3 selling way less than 10 million, right around 8, and then PS4 going above 10 million. And then, of course, The Last of Us versus The Last of Us Remastered selling many more copies on PS4. That one more of, I guess, a casualty of the end of the console generation, but, of course, did very well when re-released. However, I digress. It is not clear if the God of War or other games mentioned in the graphic count copies sold in console bundles, but that does seem likely. God of War launched in April of 2018 and became the PS4's fastest selling exclusive game ever. And of course, you can find much content on God of War around the internet, as people are still playing it, still just gushing over it, because it is a phenomenal game. But boy, is it good. I just fell in love with that game, and it came about at a time in which I was kind of at a standstill, because I had been playing a ton of Battle Royale games. That was still whenever I was sort of kind of playing Fortnite from time to time. I'd played a bit of PUBG, and I was just kind of floating around to various shooting games. And then God of War came out, and I was like, this game looks phenomenal. And I had just purchased a PS4 Pro, and so I was like, let's go ahead and see what Sony Santa Monica came up with. Oh my gosh, if you have not played this game, it is so worth your time. It defined this generation for me, and I mean that in the most sincere way possible. When it comes to every game released on the PS4 to date, this is the game that I think is the cream of the crop, the top of the mountain. It is just so absolutely phenomenal. It is worth playing without a doubt. It is one that I wish PlayStation Productions would make into a movie or a TV show, preferably a full-length feature film. But we will see what happens in the future. I cannot wait to see what the future of God of War looks like. Cannot wait to see where they take this story. But again, 10 million copies. Congratulations to the team behind the scenes, because you did very, very well with this game. And that 10 million is very much so earned. But let's talk about this new grid game, because there's a new grid coming this year where you can race across all 4 continents. All 4 continents? Are there 4? I didn't do well in geography. The new grid is in the works and it's releasing this year. A 4th game in the series is headed to PC and consoles this fall. Titled Grid, the game spans 4 continents with plenty of streets and race circuits to drive. These various locations will feature circuit, street racing, ovals, hot laps, point-to-point, and world time attack. Cars include GT, Touring, Stock, Muscle, Super Modified, and more. Codemaster says this outing won't have a steep learning curve and the gameplay will appeal to both casual and veteran players alike. Progression will be rewarded through liveries, player cards, teammates, achievements, and driving accolades. You can go up against AI competition, and of course, you can expect car damage to affect both performance and handling, and it also features up to 16-player multiplayer. Plus, too much contact with the same racer will see them emerge as a nemesis, which is a nice touch as well. On top of that, Fernando Alonso signed as a race consultant for Grid and also appears in-game. You will go up against him and his Renault R26 F1 car in a final showdown event. Grid and Grid Ultimate Edition are both up for pre-order, and the latter comes with seasons 1 through 3 content included. And I don't know what kind of seasons we're talking about here, if this is something like a free-to-play kind of model, where of course the game itself is not free-to-play, but you get new content every 3 months, or if it's a year long. I would assume probably around the 3-month DLC release time frame. But if you did want Grid, it's coming out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One on September the 13th. And I will also say currently right now on Steam, Grid 2 is free to play. And I played it a bit last night. I was a little bit bored, and so I was like, hey, let's go ahead and dive in. I got this game for free on Humble a couple of weeks back. Now it's free on Steam directly. Let's go ahead and see what this game has to offer, because it came out in 2013, I think, and I went in with my hopes very low, because again, free racing game, you never know what you're going to get. My first experience with a grid game entirely. Let me tell you, this game looks phenomenal, and it plays very well. I was very shocked at how good Grid 2 actually was. Of course, I would enjoy it more with a gamepad. Unfortunately, doesn't have that native DualShock 4 support, so I'll have to do a bit of finagling with that. But truly, Grid 2 is a game worth checking out, and it has me excited for this Grid reboot that's coming out in September of 2019. But if you did want to learn more, again, the pre-order page is up right now. Tons of features, tons of cars, 6 race types, etc. A very good-looking franchise nonetheless, if you did want to get into it. However, if you are still playing Fortnite, as I was around April of last year, then Jordan's latest sneaker drop is in Fortnite, and you get some in-game loot on top of a limited time mode that isn't exactly a limited time mode. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Fortnite has played host to a dazzling number of themed events, featuring collaborations with some of entertainment's biggest franchises, including Avengers Endgame and John Wick. However, for its latest crossover, Epic Games is teaming up with one of the biggest sportswear brands in the world, Jordan, ahead of the NBA Finals on May the 30th. Unlike the recent movie-themed tie-ins, Fortnite Cross Jordan won't focus on the game's main fight-to-the-death mechanics. Instead, Epic has launched a new creative downtown drop world that requires players to launch off massive jumps, grind down city streets, and collect coins to win. Not a gun in sight. And of course, you might be saying, Sam, what exactly does this look like? Well, I'll tell you. Here we are. This is Fortnite Cross Jordan. So basically, you get the in-game event, you get the aesthetics here, you get some skateboards, etc. And this is pretty much what the downtown drop is. It's a creative themed mode where you pretty much collect coins, collect shoes, etc. And you bounce around this downtown area, if you did want to get in on that. So that is not to say the collaboration will have no impact on BR, as you will see plenty of fresh kicks in the coming weeks. As you would expect, Nike will promote the Jordan brand via in-game items, centering on the classic Air Jordan 1. Players will be expected to part with their V-Bucks to buy the Hang Time bundle, which includes a grind outfit, clutch outfit, and a unique challenge pack, but the downtown drop limited time mode will also set a bunch of free challenges to unlock various skateboard-themed back bling styles. Earlier this week, the Golden State Warriors advanced to their 5th straight NBA Finals, sweeping aside the Portland Trail Blazers, and they will now wait to see who out of the Milwaukee Bucks and Toronto Raptors will join them. All the while, the Jordan brand will be front and center in one of the world's most popular video games. And so I don't bring this story up to say, hey, dive in and check out the limited time mode. You'll probably see that promoted elsewhere. What I do want to point out is how absolutely insane Fortnite has become when it comes to collaborations, when it comes to brand deals. This game is just one that doesn't stop, and it feels like it touches every single industry. And I feel like that's partially because of the adoption from big names in various parts of various industries. Of course, you have people in tech that have fallen in love with Fortnite and gaming that have fallen in love with Fortnite. But on top of that, you've got sports stars falling in love with Fortnite. There was an MLB guy that said he had to take a couple of months off or weeks off or whatever because he got like carpal tunnel from playing too much Fortnite. Whenever you have that, that's a collaboration waiting to happen. I know NBA players play Fortnite. Everybody has played it at one point or another 9 times out of 10. Some people haven't, and that's perfectly fine. But this game is on a level that even Call of Duty could never get to in its reign. And so whenever you consider that, whenever you see these deals like Jordan being included within the game, nutty, man. Absolutely nutty. So if you did want to get some back bling, if you did want to get some in-game loot, etc., you can jive in, dance, whatever you want to do, within the world of Fortnite and check out that new limited time mode and complete some of those challenges. And hey, you could even spend your hard-earned money on some shoes in-game that you'll never actually be able to wear in real life, but they're probably cheaper than real Air Jordan 1s. However, to round out today's show, I did want to let you guys know about a free game right now. The Sims 4 Base Edition is currently free on PC. If you have ever dreamed of wrangling the lives of little computer people into abject misery and ruin, or something nicer, but you still have a sim-shaped hole in your game's library for some reason, you might be interested to know that The Sims 4 is currently free on PC. When The Sims 4 launched back in 2014, it was widely considered to be a little on the scant side, having ditched features from previous games, most notably the open-world structure of its predecessor, to create a more compact, focused life sim experience. That's not to say it was a dud, though. The series' endless loops of busy work were as mesmerizing as ever and significantly bolstered by powerful character customization, building, and social tools that placed much greater emphasis on personalization and creativity. These days, of course, The Sims 4 is a considerably more substantial experience than it was at launch, courtesy of 6 expansion packs, 7 game packs, 14 stuff packs, and a raft of free updates, although at £34.99 per expansion and £17 per game pack and £10 per stuff pack, going all in is an expensive proposition. Even so, and I say this as someone who recently troubled right back down to the Sims 4 hole after a long period away, there is a more than decent amount of entertainment to be found in the omniscient manipulations of the base game alone. And so if you did want to check it out, again, the game is free until May the 28th. And hey, it's a free game, so you might as well dive in and give it a look. Again, the entire promotion is pretty much a giveaway to get you to buy the expansion packs and to kind of get you in there with this gateway drug of the base version of The Sims 4. But again, hey, free gateway drug, so you should dive in on Origin right now, pick it up if you did want to add it to your library and see what The Sims 4 is all about. But that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, welcome on in, and I do hope you enjoyed what I brought to the table today. If you hung out live in the chat, I appreciate you being here. And again, the show is hosted live on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time if you did want to catch up on the hottest gaming news from around the industry. But until tomorrow, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, and peace.